Hi, my name is Mark Allred, and I'm a singer-songwriter from the Stafford, Virginia area, and I do what's called live looping. Live looping is when you record multiple ideas live and you layer them on top of each other to create these large sonic soundscapes that are super unique and a lot of fun. I thought it would be interesting to show folks how I actually loop, the steps that I take, and how I think about these layers and how I use them live. So here's a quick video to show you how it is I actually loop using the Boss RC-300. Hey guys, so this is how to loop using an RC-300 Boss loop station. In the previous video, I explained what all this is. So if this is confusing to you, go back and watch the other video where I kind of lay out what all my gear is here. But ultimately, I'm basically just going to walk you through how I use this and how I do looping. Everyone has their own approach. But I think there's some kind of basic fundamentals to help people get started and really understand it. So for me, how I approach the RC-300 is pretty basic. It's a very powerful tool, and it has a lot inside of its guts that you can fool around with. I try to strip things down in everything I do to really basic fundamentals. I only use one memory station, and I've actually, the only change that I've made to all this, because you can assign anything to any one of these pedals, I've only changed this loop effects pedal button right here to be a kill switch. So it'll wipe all three tracks out at once. That's the only customization I've done. But if you really want to get into that on the RC-300, go get the user manual and figure out how you want to address that. I'm not going to talk about that too much. I'm just going to show you how I do the actual looping here. So one thing that I learned at the very beginning is it's good to have a basic understanding of how you assign each one of these tracks. You have 3 individual tracks that you can layer an infinite number of loops on top of it, right? So what I mean by that is we could go, and I can layer on top of that an infinite number, right? Right, I just layered 3 different loops on top of that. You can do that for each one, and you can punch each one of these in and out individually, or you can play all 3 of them at the same time. So that's how you loop one. You push it, and then you just start playing right when you push. I can't stress enough how important your very first loop is, because it dictates the rest of the song. If you get the timing wrong on that first loop, you mess up the entire song. So it's worth it to make sure that loop is perfect. If you have to restart it, restart it. And it's something that I explain at the beginning of every one of my shows is, hey, what I'm doing is live. And I say when I mess up, not if I mess up. You're going to hear it and see it, and we'll fix it together. And that's what makes live looping so cool. So be unafraid to make those mistakes when you go looping live, because you can't be perfect all the time. But do your best to be as good as you can. So anyway, that's how I do it. I start with that first loop, and I address each one of these tracks with a basic fundamental understanding. I try to approach track 1 is always my rhythm guitar. Track 2 is almost always my bass track. And track number 3 is my rhythm. Is that the same thing for every song? No, I have variations on that. But it's good to know, hey, if I'm going to pull out my bass track, boom, I'm going to pull that one out. I'm going to hit that, and that'll get rid of my percussion, my beatboxing. And having that kind of frame of reference helps you build the majority of how you use your looper. Without having to try to readdress it every single time. So this is how I do it. I'll usually start first track with a rhythm, right? So here's my rhythm guitar. Right? So now we got the rhythm going. So I'll use my octave pedal over there to create a bass note. Right? So this is just going, and I can turn this on and get going whenever I want. So now I've got those 2 tracks. There's just my bass track right there. And just my, if I want to play them both together, I can push the stop. And then once I push the start, it'll start both of them at the same time. Right? So I've got 2 tracks there. I can layer an infinite number on top of those, as creative as I want to be. For the third one, I almost always use that for my percussion, and I do my beatboxing. Again, caveat. I'm not a fantastic beatboxer. I'm decent. I'm okay, but I'm not great at it. So what I do is I just try to do the most basic kind of beatboxing. And how I do it is I split it usually between hi-hats and a kick drum kind of combination, right? So my beginning will be, and then I'll do some fat kind of a combo. So that's how you hear me start it. When I play live, what I'll usually do in order to have room to grow and somewhere to go is I'll just do these two. I'll do a rhythm with a bass line, and then I'll add in is my delay pedal, and then I'll riff on this for a while. I gotta turn it on. Here we go. That gives you somewhere to go. Add your bass. And that just gives you a lot of room to use whatever kind of toys you have going on. I'll use my wah pedal a little bit. So I'll usually start with just those two. Riff on that for a little bit, depending on how I'm setting up my song, but always try to make it so you have somewhere to grow, somewhere where you can progress and add more and more. And lastly, I'll do the percussion side, so I'll do a beatbox on the end for my drums. So let's try that. Right? So you've been seeing as I've laid each one, you hit the record button, and then you hit it again to stop it once you're done. Right? Otherwise, you're going to continually loop ideas on top of that track, and it'll sound like garbage. So like this. Right? I still have my vocal looping mic on, so if I keep talking, I get all this crap on top of it. If I keep talking, I get all this crap on top of it. If I keep talking, I get all this crap on top of it. If I keep talking, I get all this. So you want to avoid making that kind of a mistake. And so what's awesome about this RC-300 is if you make an accident live, we can take it out just by holding that track down again. So here's my accident. Crap on top of it. You just press on that pedal, hold it down. If I keep talking, I get all this crap. And now it's gone. So again, a word of caution, whenever you're using your microphone to loop through the RC-300, some folks will start only with the beatboxing or the rhythm side, because if you do it later, you'll hear the ghost notes of the other instrumentation, right? You can hear the guitar and the bass, right? You can hear the guitar and the bass line. So sometimes you'll want to start with the rhythm so that you can add the other stuff, depending on how you want to pull the instrumentation in and out during your song. So my bass line, awesome by itself because there's no microphone bleed, right? My rhythm guitar is the same, but that guy's got some bleed over. So be careful on how you do that. And that right there, that's how I do my looping. And you can do so much fun stuff with this. There's so many variables and there's so many variations. It's limitless. Just something super, super simple can give you so many options to be creative and to do some fun songwriting. So that's how I loop. There's a lot more to this that I could explain, but I just wanted to give a really basic overview on how I set up my looping and how I do it. So if you have questions, please let me know. Hope you liked that video. If you have any questions on how I do my looping, please leave me something in the comments and let me know what you think, and I hope you enjoyed the video.